There is a feeling you've not felt in a long time, a smell you haven't smelled in years. You can't describe it exactly, but you'd know it anywhere. If you walked into a room and it hit you, you would know in half a second, because it belonged to her. Her kitchen, her coat, her house. That smell is maybe gone now, and so is the world that made it. So today we're counting down 20 things our moms did that nobody does anymore. Things that were so ordinary back then, but looking back today, you'd realize it made growing up back then a pleasure. Stay with me. Because by number 1, you're going to realize someone remembers this as well as you do. 20. She called you in from outside. By screaming your name down the street, you were somewhere in the neighborhood, 3 blocks away, behind somebody's garage or down by the creek where you weren't supposed to be, and when it was time to come home, she did the only thing she could do. She opened the front door, stepped onto the porch, and she called your name. Full name if you were in trouble. Just the first if dinner was ready. And you heard it. Everyone heard it. The whole street heard it. And you knew, without anyone having to explain, that it was time to go home. Every kid in the neighborhood had their own version of that call. You knew the sound of each mother's voice. You knew which one meant now and which one meant you have 5 minutes. It was its own language, and the whole street spoke it. Nobody does that anymore. Kids don't play outside like that anymore. Mothers don't stand on porches like that anymore. That moment, her voice carrying down a summer street at dusk, is one of the most specific sounds of that entire decade, and it's gone. 19. She hung the laundry outside on the line, not because it was trendy, not because she cared about the environment, because that's what you did. She'd carry the basket out in the morning, and one by one she'd pin everything up. Shirts, trousers, sheets so big they'd billow out like sails when the wind caught them. And then she'd leave them there all day, in the sun and the open air. You knew when the sheets had been on the line because of how they felt that night. Stiff and cool and clean in a way that a dryer never managed to replicate. And the smell, that smell, like outside had somehow gotten folded in with everything and followed you to bed. There are grown adults right now, in their 60s and 70s, who say that smell is one of the first things they think of when they think of their childhood home. Not a toy, not a TV show. The smell of line-dried sheets, that's not a small thing. That's home. 18. She kept a recipe box. Not a cookbook that sells for a couple hundreds, sometimes up to $1,000, but a box. A small wooden or metal box sitting on the counter or in a kitchen drawer stuffed with index cards. Some typed, most handwritten. A few cut out of newspapers and magazines and taped to cards because the paper was already going yellow at the edges. And those cards had history on them. A smudge of butter on the corner, a ring from a coffee cup, her mother's handwriting on the ones that came from before, her own handwriting on the ones she figured out herself. That box was the entire culinary history of your family in a 4x6-inch stack of cards. Every holiday meal, every birthday cake, every dish that only existed because she had made it and made it and made it until she had it exactly right. Some of those recipes exist nowhere else on Earth. They never got typed into a website. They never got photographed for Instagram. They lived in that box, and when the box was gone, they were gone. If your mother still has hers, go find it. Hold it. Read the cards in her handwriting. That's not a recipe box. That's her voice in your hands. 17. She made everything from scratch. She started from the beginning. Every time, flour on the counter, butter out of the fridge, stock made from the bones of last Sunday's chicken because you didn't throw those away, you made something from them. That's what you did, and it took time. The kind of time that said, without ever saying it out loud, that you were worth the effort, that feeding you well was not an inconvenience, it was the point. Kids today will never know what it felt like to come home from school to a smell that had been building in that kitchen for 3 hours, a smell that meant something specific, a smell that meant her. 16. She sent you outside. After breakfast, you went outside and the day was yours. The whole neighborhood was yours. You built things and broke things and got lost and found your way back and came home with dirty knees and no explanation necessary. She didn't know exactly where you were, And she was okay with that because the world felt like a place where children could exist in it unsupervised and come back fine, and mostly they did. There was a freedom in that which is almost impossible to explain to someone who didn't live it. A full, unstructured, ungoverned day. Just you and whoever showed up and whatever you decided to do with the hours between breakfast and the moment she called your name from the porch. We didn't know we were living in something rare. You never do when you're inside it. 15. She put Vicks VapoRub on everything. Chest cold. Vicks. Sore throat. Vicks. Runny nose, headache, couldn't sleep, something hurt but you weren't sure what. Her solution to it all was Vicks. She'd scoop it out with 2 fingers, rub it on your chest in slow circles, put a warm flannel over it and pull the blanket up. And whatever happened next, whether you got better because of it or in spite of it or just because time passed, you felt taken care of. That blue jar was the entire medicine cabinet in one container. It smelled like something being handled, like someone paying attention to the fact that you weren't well. You can still buy it today. It smells the same. And if you open a jar right now, there is a very good chance it takes you straight back to that bed, that blanket, those hands, that smell. Some things don't need to be explained. They just need to be remembered. 14. She gave you the look. No words necessary. You'd be in a grocery store or at a relative's house or at the dinner table saying something you had absolutely no business saying, and she'd look at you. Not a long look, not an angry look exactly, just a look. A specific, quiet, entirely unmistakable look that meant, stop what you are doing right now, or there will be a conversation later that you do not want to have. And you stopped, immediately. Because that look had never once been wrong about what it meant. Mothers today have to negotiate, they have to explain, they have to follow up. She didn't negotiate. She looked at you from across a room and rearranged your entire behavior with her eyes. Every single person who grew up in that era knows the look we're talking about. You can probably picture it right now. You might even be able to feel it. 13. She had a good room. It was for company, for Christmas, for occasions that hadn't arrived yet. And as a child, you understood without being told that this room operated under different rules. You didn't run through it, you didn't eat in it, you didn't play in it. You walked past it and glanced in and kept moving. Looking back, there's something almost beautiful about it. The idea that some spaces were kept, that not everything was for every day, that she had created a small pocket of the house that was held in reserve for the moments that deserved it. Most homes don't have a good room anymore. Everything is open, casual, used. Nothing is saved for later. She knew how to save things for later. 12. She recycled everything before. Recycling was a word. The butter tub became a container for leftovers. The bread bag became a sandwich bag. The glass jam jar became a drinking glass. The cardboard box became wrapping paper. The wrapping paper, if it came off the gift cleanly enough, got folded and saved for next year. Nothing left the house that could still be something else. This wasn't environmentalism, it wasn't political. It was just how she had been raised, that you used what you had all the way to the end, and then you figured out if there was more left in it after that. There was a tin on the counter that said cookies on it. It did not contain cookies. You knew this by the time you were 4. You opened it hoping for a biscuit and found a spool of thread and a needle and a thimble and a button that had been waiting 3 years to be sewn back on. That tin was everywhere. Every house had it. It might be the single most universal object of the entire decade. 11. She talked to the neighbors over the fence, not quickly, not on her way to somewhere else. She stood at that fence for an hour, an actual hour, sometimes more. She knew their names, all of them. The couple next door, their kids, their parents when they visited, the dog. She knew who was having a hard time and who had just gotten good news and who needed someone to take in their bins while they were away. The street was a community, a real one, not a Facebook group, not a next-door notification. Actual people who knew each other because they had stood at fences and talked until one of them had to go start dinner. There was no performance in it. No one was building a personal brand. They were just neighbors, being neighbors in the oldest and most human sense of that word. Most of us don't even know our neighbors' last names now. She knew their anniversary. Is there anything your mom did back then that nobody does anymore? It doesn't have to be from this list. This channel exists for people who remember. Share it with someone else who does. Until next time, happy Mother's Day.